Hello there, boxing fans around the world. Thank you for joining me once again here on Talk and Fight for another episode of Boxing News today. And before we get into recapping a few of the bigger fights this past few days, let's see what's screaming across the headlines via the United States of America. Involves Alicia Baumgartner, and it looks like she's been approved to go back into the ring. The undisputed super featherweight world champion Alicia Baumgartner's 15-1, 7 knockouts, is seemingly no longer suspended by the Association of Boxing Commission, is now able to resume her career. Last week, as you all might know, Baumgartner took to social media to claim that the Michigan Unarmed Combat Commission, the UCC, had lifted her suspension and she was free to box again following an almost 8-month investigation into anti-doping issues. She was supposed to defend her super featherweight title against Christina Linardetu back at the Masonic Temple in Detroit, Michigan, July 2023, and saw her career put on hold since her positive drug test in the days leading up to that fight. And news of that positive test for the substance mesterolone was not confirmed until August. Anyway, it seems like after posting to social media, she's pretty happy that she's going to be back in the ring soon, and we look forward to seeing her fight once again. Now let's have a quick look at the recaps. Let's start off with a few of the undercard results emanating out of Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, on the undercard of the big Francis Ngannou fight against Anthony Joshua. Unbeaten heavyweight Andrei Novitsky, he's 10-0, 8 knockouts, scored a third-round knockout against Juan Torres. Unbeaten local super lightweight Ziad Amayov, he's 5-0. I appointed Christian Flores over 6 rounds. Cruiserweight prospect Roma Fury, the brother of WBC heavyweight champ Tyson Fury, won a 4-round decision over Martin Svak. Super welterweight Lewis Green, 17-4, demolished previously unbeaten Jack McGann, who's now 9-1 in the first round. A right hand laid out McGann after 1 minute 29 seconds of action. Unbeaten heavyweight Justice Huni is now 9-0, had to work hard to win a 10-round unanimous decision over Kevin Arena, who almost pulled it out when he rocked Huni in round number 10, but Huni made it to the final bell. Unbeaten lightweight Mark Chamberlain, 15-0, put a 4-round beating on European champ Gavin Gwynn. Gwynn's corner finally threw in the towel at 2 minutes 46 seconds of, as I said, round number 4. Let's have a quick look and see what else is happening. Yes, in a clash for the vacant WBA super welterweight title, formerly held by Jermel Charlo, WBA number 1 Israel the Dream Madrimov, he's now 10-0-1. Scored a 5th-round TKO over WBA number 2, Magomed Kurbanov. He's now 25-1. And that took place on Friday night and the Kingdom in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, as were the undercard results I just named. I just wanted to remind you in case you forgot what I was talking about the big fight that happened in Riyadh. Anyway, WBC featherweight champ Ray Vargas, 36-1, barely kept his title with a 12-round draw against number 1 contender Nick Ball, 19-1. The lanky Vargas towered with the 5'2" Ball and dominated the first 6 rounds. Ball rocked Vargas in round number 7, then dropped in round number 8 and again in round number 11. But in the end, judges had it for Vargas. 114, 112, 116, 110, 113, 113. So pretty close battle there between those two fighters. Nonetheless, let's move along to the big boys. Former world champion Joseph Parker dethroned WBO interim heavyweight champ Zhilai Zhang. We'll have more on this later. By 12-round majority decision, Zhang dropped Parker around 3 and 8, but Parker ultimately outboxed and outworked and seemingly exhausted Zhang in a tactical fight. With Zhang coming out early, but Parker seemingly overtaking him. After the fight, Parker revealed that Zhang has a rematch clause. It looks like they'll be going back into the ring against each other very soon. Well, not very soon, but soon enough for us. And the big fight of the night saw former 2-time unified heavyweight champ Anthony Joshua, AJ. He's now 28-3, annihilate former MMA superstar, and WBC number 10 rated Francis Ngannou, who's now 0-2. And yes, I will admit, I thought Ngannou would do a little bit better in this particular fight, but the adjectives, adverbs coming in are hot and heavy with respect to AJ's victory. Joshua just dropped Ngannou in the first round with the right hand, came back with the same punch to floor Ngannou twice in round number 2, and then the fight again in that second round with a huge, thundering, clobbering, demolishing hit. 2 minutes 38 seconds. Ngannou was out cold. All right, so let's see what will happen in the heavyweight division moving along in the next couple of months, without a doubt. Elsewhere, we're going to have a quick look here. Because I mentioned this fight last week, I want to bring you up to speed. In a clash between world-ranked junior flyweight contenders, undefeated WBC number 5, WB number 7, WBO number 12, Jairo Noriega, he's 14-0 now, scored a 12-round unanimous decision over WBO number 7, WBA number 8, WBC number 8, Azael VR. He's now 23-4. That was a fight that took place at the Faroes Casino in Managua, Nicaragua. A very decisive victory indeed. In another fight, former super welterweight world champion King Carlos Molina, 39-14-2, 13 knockouts, knocked out Christian Arazola, 20-19-3 in the third round over on Saturday night in the Auditorio Municipal in Moquejon, Mexico. A straight right put Arazola on all fours to end it. In addition to fighting in the main event, Molina was also the promoter. Over in Japan, WBA number 4, Yuni Takada, was a huge pre-fight favorite due to his latest surge, but had a very tough time coping with fleet-footed superstar JBC number 1, Shunseki Aisa, and managed to keep his Japanese minimum belt by unanimous decision over 10 speedy rounds. That took place on Friday night in Tokyo, Japan. After the fifth, the opening scoring system indicated Takada widely leading on points. Takada handled by a 3-time world champion challenger Leon Furuyama, decked the soft punching challenger with a solid right in round number 6, but it was Issa that amazingly displayed a last surge, battered the champ, and dropped him with a furious combination in the closing seconds of the final 10th. The champ Takada was barely saved by the bell that came to his rescue, and Isa deserves a rematch. We'll have to wait and see on that one. In other boxing news, Carlos Linas and CLIP Clip Promotions showcased 10 rounds at the Soundboard in Motor City Casino in Detroit, Michigan. The undercard had some very competitive fights, but it was the main event for the vacant WBC Silver Cruiserweight title that was the focus of the evening's event. Cruiserweight Derek Miller Jr., 16-0, 8 knockouts. In his toughest challenge to date, was able to defeat Adrian Taylor by unanimous decision. The win exhibited Miller's cardio and much improved combinations. Promoter Carlos Linas, after the fight, admitted that Miller has to increase his quality of fights and stay active, but he has ever looked, and we are heading the right direction with Derek, he said. So good for him. All righty, let's have a quick look at some of the comments rocking the world right now. Associated Press had this simply to say: Anthony Joshua stopped Francis Ngannou in the second round. The former heavyweight champion dominated his matchup with the ex-UFC heavyweight champ at Kingdom Arena in Saudi Arabia. Tyson Fury, who was ringside at that particular fight, probably to see his brother fight, he's going to face Oleksandr Usyk, as we all know, for the Undisputed Heavyweight Championship on May 18th. Anyway, he was in attendance, as I said, to see Joshua absolutely demolish Francis Ngannou, against whom Francis, he took Fury close there in their particular fight. Anyway, Francis didn't come up quite as well against Anthony Joshua. Anyway, after the fight, Tyson Fury had this to say: boxing is a very difficult game. It's changing all the time. Styles make fights, and his style is made for me. When I've got through with the rabbit, referring to Usyk, then we go down for AJ. That's the fight for Britain. And as many media in Great Britain are yapping about right now, they're all looking forward to the Battle of Britain. That would be assuming that Tyson Fury can take care of business and defeat Usyk. And if so, I think there's a rematch clause in that particular contract. So AJ will have to wait to fight, if Fury wins, fight Fury for that Battle of Britain title. Anyway, so we'll see what happens. Another British heavyweight chimed in, claiming that Francis Ngannou's boxing career is now done. He said, let's have a quote. He quotes, "Go back to the UFC." All right, fair enough. He added, "It was a gimmick. That's it. We found out who he is. He's done." Interesting enough, I think this is the best quote. Comes out of Dana White's mouth, the UFC pres. He said, "You know how I feel about the crossover fights in boxing. That's how they end." That's what he had to say about Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou. So, next up, as I said, Tyson Fury going up against Usyk on May 18th, and they are contracted for a rematch, likely ruling out any kind of fight between Fury, if he wins, Fury against Joshua in the short term. So, when asked who he will fight next, Anthony Joshua basically said anyone. Realistically, I believe Filip Hrgovic could be in line for a summer battle against Joshua. He's undefeated, I believe. Let's have a quick look and see who else might be. Joshua basically said this. I think Zhilai Zhang will probably execute his rematch clause against Joseph Parker, so that probably take him out of the picture. So we're probably looking at, other than Hrgovic, Wilder, Parker. That's realistically, it all depends on that rematch clause. Because if I'm going to include Parker, I'm going to include Zhang in that too. But those are the heavyweights. Realistically for Joshua to warm up, I suppose, or keep busy while he looks forward to his. That's if Fury is able to beat Usyk. Anyway, I'm repeating myself. After the fight, Hearn referred to Joshua as the best heavyweight in the division. And Fury said something like, well, we'll see what Usyk says about that. Oh, yes, he said, "I'm sure Oleksandr Usyk will have something to say about that, considering that he beat Joshua twice. It's me and Usyk who fight for the number 1, number 2 positions and the undisputed championship of the world in May." He said, "I had a shit performance against Ngannou. I've never said anything different. Joshua knocked him out, and that's what a boxer should have done." So it seems like, and I did see the interview with Tyson Fury, by the way, after that particular fight. He was calm, cool, collected, and said some pretty good things, I would have to say. I think you all probably agree with me. He was pretty decent about his opinion of the fight and how it was easily dominated by Joshua. Realistically, looking at the heavyweight division, I see a pretty good story on boxingnews24.com. They said, realistically, the heavyweight now, in terms of those boxers in the men's division who've not yet fought for a belt, you're looking at Ajit Caballel, he's 24-0. Frank, the Cuban Flash Sanchez, 24-0. Martin Bakole, 20-1. Fabio Wardley, 17-0. The American who I was reporting on last week, due to his troubles with the law, mainly. Anyway, he's in contention. Jared Big Baby Anderson, but likely looking to still buffer up his resume. But he's 16-0 at the moment. And as I just said, Filip Hrgovic, he is 17-0. So it will be interesting to see who out of those 6 emerge as challengers for any one of the titles that may or may not become available within the next year. As I said, and as we discussed last year, that heavyweight division is pretty clogged. It's still a little bit clogged, but less clogged now that Francis Ngannou, I think, is out of the picture, which brings us to Zhilai Zhang. So Zhilai Zhang, realistically, okay, his trainers going on records. Then Terry Lane spoke to Sky Sports after the fight, and he gave some praise for Parker without a doubt. But he said, "I think Zhilai wants the rematch. From my perspective, if you take a step back and look at the big picture, what's going on in the heavyweight division, it's really exciting," said Lane. "It's reminiscent of eras past when there were a number of high-profile, world-class big men who kept fighting each other to the benefit of boxing fans. Styles make fights," he reiterated what Tyson Fury said, "and it's very nuanced. Zhang beats Joyce, who lost to Parker. Surely Zhang beats Parker, right? Wrong. A beats B, B beats C, and then A beats C. Not in boxing. It's more of a game of paper, rock, and scissors, where each beats one and loses to the other. Having said that, Zhilai can make the adjustments, win more rounds, and go on to other things. That's keeping in mind, I think that Zhang is 40 years old, and I don't know how much he's got left in him. It looked like he did tire out towards the end of that particular fight, although he claims he didn't. And he came out strong, but ultimately was beaten by Parker. As I said, boxing247.com, as fans know, reported heavyweights Joseph Parker and Zhilai Zhang fought on the knockout chaos card previously, with the New Zealander Parker winning via majority decision over the Chinese southpaws. Fans also know Parker said post-fight that he and Zhang are contracted to fight the rematch. Parker said he has no problems facing Big Bang a second time, but what of Zhang? Did the 40-year-old Man Mountain come in too hefty at 291 pounds, his career heaviest weight? Zhang produced a pretty low punch output, a quite pathetic punch output, you could say. There was no apparent urgency from Zhang, even when he and his corner knew the fight was slipping away on the cards. And here's the real frustrating part for fans. When Zhang did let his hands go, he knocked Parker down twice. And Zhang didn't even load up or come close to loading up. Either time he put Parker on the mat, Zhang's seemingly innocuous punches, the real fact they had in his opponents was clear, reminds some of the old George Foreman, a man who, like Zhang currently has, had massive power in his huge arms and was able to get big results from what looked like uninitiated, like nothing blows. Zhang's power is for real, as is his chin. The older man taking some flush right hands to the head from Parker without even giving the suggestion of a flinch. But the problem with Zhang is his punch output, his poor, even stingy punch output. The way he fought against Parker, one would think every punch he threw cost Zhang money. But maybe the problem is simple. Zhang is afraid of gassing out, the way he gassed out in his lucky draw with Jerry Forrest back in February 2021. Zhang hit the mat in that fight, and he was hospitalized after the fight with him having found to have kidney troubles. Zhang made a full recovery, though, with him having 6 fights since. Zhang losing only to Filip Bergovic and to Parker, with Zhang really making a name for himself in those 2 crushing wins over Joe Joyce. So, has Zhang been afraid of gassing out ever since the Forrest fight? Something was wrong with the Big Bang the other night. We all saw him fail to fully unload against Parker, that's for sure. With so much at stake, with an entire country in his corner, one would have thought Zhang would have, as the adage goes, and left it all in the ring. With him pushing himself as hard as he could possibly push himself in the later rounds against Parker, which he did not. So anyway, the critics are realistically not I don't think they're on the side of Zhang in this one. We all thought Zhang had a chance, but Parker came out strong and was able to defeat Zhang. And I think Parker's going to go on to bigger and better things, I'm sure. But as I said, that heavyweight division is clogged, and it's going to remain clogged for the next year for sure. In sad news, and just a reminder to all of us that life is short, let's enjoy it while we can. A former boxer, a former boxing champion, Bazar Namani, has died at the age of 38 after being shot. He was apparently murdered in an ambush outside a restaurant in Germany. According to national media, Nirmani was leaving a cafe on Saturday evening when 10 shots were heard being fired, and he died at the scene. So the police have launched an investigation, and it's actually, according to current findings, the man from Bielefeld was in the area near Obernstrasse, near Klausingstrasse, around 6 p.m. One or more of the perpetrators approached and shot the victim, and the man, who was a Kosovar citizen, died at the scene due to great wounds he received. So if you look at some of the pictures that are online now, you'll see he was obviously a tough guy and a good fighter, but can't beat the bullets, man. Sorry. Anyway, major police operations are underway, and we feel sorry for that young man. Died much too young. Obviously got himself in a bit of trouble. He's Nirmani, by the way, from Albania, from Kosovo, but moved to Germany as a refugee during the Kosovan War in 1997. Made his name in this country after winning 26 out of 27 professional fights before retiring from the sport in 2019. just prior to COVID. And he once held the IBF European Super Welterweight title. Anyway, there are some people reporting he got in a bit of an altercation that left 5 people injured after a prior shooting. So not going to make any guesses as to how this all came about, but let's leave it at that for now. Poor fella died at the age 38. 30 years, no, less than that, 25 years than I am. Anyway, point matter is this, sad news, but just a reminder, life is short. Let's enjoy it. All right, boxing fans, thanks for joining me here on Talk and Fight. That pretty well wraps up the news for today. Thank you very much for joining me. Like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll see you tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, live.